Yo, gamers! They revealed in which tier every relic falls, and every relic we have. And I was like, let's go over each relic and each tier and just tell you all about it. Rank them. I have a semi-arbitrary ranking system, but let's just go to the excavator relic and tell you all about it. It's basically 4 criteria that I ranked them in, and that is the endgame viability. How much stronger does the relic make you compared to the base game? The early game, how much time can you skip essentially, like how many grinds can you skip or how much faster do you go? Synergies, how well does it work with other relics? On the PowerPoint slide it's just like positive, negative, or like a bit of both. But like of course there's a bit of a gradient in there as well. And the last one is fun and gameplay adaptation, like how much does this change your gameplay? So let's go over it for excavator endgame. Stuff you don't have in the main game is you auto smelt and you multiply your ores. What do I mean with multiply? Usually, for example, for an iron, you would have to mine 2 iron ore, you smelt it into 1 iron bar. With this relic, the moment you mine 1 iron, it turns into an iron bar. This also means that if you go for the tier 90 bars, the Elder Rune, you usually need light animica, dark animica, and a rune bar, meaning you save like 4 ores. If on top of that you add stone spirits double the ore you mine. So usually it would double the ore you mine. But now it actually quadruples the ore you mine, because you get 2 ore out of, you get 2 bars out of 1 ore. And you can ignore the other 2, so you actually get like 4 bars for like 1 ore mined. So that's actually extremely powerful. Also, what really powerful is auto gem crafting. This means that crafting is basically solved. You can nearly go fully AFK on the gem rock and just craft it all the way up. And there are so many buffs to archaeology that archaeology speed is just off the charts. For the early game, all the endgame buffs basically also speed up the early game. You get a free endgame tool. You get more chronodes, so you can buy out the archaeology shop quicker. All in all, it's a giga boost to everything, so you can unlock your relics faster. It is really strong. For the synergies, it's positive with the 5-finger discount. That is because you can unlock the rapid pickpocket, sticky fingers relics, sorry, there you go. Relics from archaeology in this case. It's great with barbarism, because you can really quickly level your smithing and thus get gear for your melee. It's great with Soulborn, because you need your armor. Your necromancy armor requires crafting levels, your weapon smithing, and this relic boosts both. It's also great for Perfection, because Perfection is an invention relic, and you unlock invention extremely quickly, because you have crafting and smithing once again solved. You need crafting, smithing, and divination level 80 to unlock invention, so there you go. And for fun, it's just great quality of life. You just go a lot faster, it's a lot less... there's less friction, but it's still skilling. With the Divine Woodcutter, in the endgame it auto-banks logs. You cannot really do that. I guess you have porters, so I guess it saves you money whilst banking logs. It's not that great. There is nothing that banks Birth Nest for you, so that is nice. And it doubles the Divine Energy you farm. For the early game you get a free endgame tool. And that's about it. It gets outclassed, because like the Excavator relic adds archaeology. And later you get an archaeology relic that like auto burns your logs, so that kind of does what the Divine Woodcutter does as well. So that's how it gets outpaced. That's also why it has a negative synergy with Excavator, because Excavator just replaces parts of it. And it has negative with Perfection, and that is simply because you get double energy, but with Perfection you no longer use energy, so you waste a lot of your power from your relic here. With Production Master, it's kind of 50-50, because you auto-burn your logs. So that part of Production Master kind of gets surpassed, but on the other hand, the logs you don't auto-burn, or the ones you get from bossing, you can still produce faster. And for fun, it's kind of the same as Excavator, it's just quality of life in the end. And with the Animal Wrangler, auto-banks your fish and hunter loot. Most hunter loot is noted, so that doesn't do much. And most of the fish you're going to catch is in the deep sea fishing hub, and there's banks everywhere. Still gonna save you some time, or not that much. You do, however, have a higher catch rate, so if you're fishing, you get more fish. Your traps will never fail, so that means you get more hunter XP over time, although you don't train your hunter with traps really, but like maybe Granville spikes is probably the only thing I can think of. But you also get double hunter loot, so that is nice if you're catching like whirly gigs or you're doing big game hunter, getting some extra bones and stuff. Early game you get a free endgame tool. You don't necessarily really have a tool with fishing, but still going to be better than the crystal rod, and even better than the hero item Tavia's rod. So that is nice. Also doubles hunter loot in the early game. You still don't really need it. Like maybe some whirligig dusts, but that's about it. Also actually for the endgame tool here and here, it counts as the highest tool possible in for the skill. So that actually means a tier 99 pickaxe, a tier 100 pickaxe, tier 99 mattock, and a tier 100 hatchet. Synergies, once again, excavator has an auto cook relic in archaeology. So if you level the archaeology enough, that part becomes completely useless. And the same thing with production master. Like the food you don't automatically cook, you can production master. And but like the stuff you do automatically cook takes away from production master. And it has some quality of life. Overall, I gave him these rankings. At the end of the video, I threw everything in a tier list based on the rankings. And then you'll see that it's kind of arbitrary. But basically, based on my points, I'm like, Excavator's really strong in the end game and saves you a lot of time. There's a lot of good synergies, and it is a gathering skill, but it still like alters your gameplay in a fun way, I think. The Vine Woodcutter really falls off, like it still has some things that are stronger than in the base game. But compared to Excavator, it's not great. In the early game, it does save you some time. It has some bad synergies. The gameplay is once again the skill, so who cares? Animal Wrangler, the endgame power is just subpar. Because you're not even going to use fishing too much, honestly, if you look at the other relics later on. You still save some time in early game. It has bad synergies, yeah, etc. You know. Golden Footed, the agility relic. End game, you get hybrid boots. If they're the same stats as Silverhawks, they're still best in slot. They might have slightly better stats. So technically best in slot hybrid boots, I guess. Zero effort agility training. We don't really have that in Ironman mode in the main game. Of course, you have Silverhawk boots as in the main scape, but still. Also, you get 200% extra XP at the like lab completion XP. So it's the highest XP an hour we can technically get for agility. Early game, you get combat boots pretty early with offensive stats. So technically best in slot boot for quite a while for all your combat. You can train agility without effort or get really high XP an hour. And it makes some solid early game money. For synergies, it doesn't really interact with anything. And for fun, it greatly speeds up agility. So if you hate agility with passion, you can use it. Next one, 5-finger discount. Endgame, it really only offers fast XP an hour. There aren't many targets that really give you good loot. You could technically say like Elves in Privideness, because there's no catch rate, so you can infinitely sit at one. So you can get, for example, a lot of porters, but there's also like a lot of stuff later on where like maybe you don't need the porters. For the early game, still high thieving XP and solid early game money. Saves are really fast money, and with a 1 minute cooldown is you don't need to move around. So you just grab a spot with like 2 or 3 saves and you're fine. It doesn't really interact with anything. I should have added actually in both Golden Footed and 5-finger discount that are negative with perk faction, because that's a really big money maker. But I guess this is better for the early. And once again, if you hate thieving, you can speed it up a lot. And now we come with like the big slammer for this tier, and that is Farming Frenzy. For the end game, you get instant noted harvesting, instant and noted harvesting. You get instant growing, you get more yield, save seed, more herbs per seed, free ultra compost. It's just a ton of buffs that you don't have in the main game. Another real big benefit is the instant growth. Like you can just grab your seeds, and you're like, I'm just gonna blast through all my seeds, and you just keep planting. Like you just literally like plant, harvest, like a maniac. In the early game, basically everything in the end game works for the early game as well, and you get insane XP an hour. Especially with like fruit trees. They give you, same in old school, you can get crazy XP rates by just doing your fruit tree runs. But imagine instead of doing a fruit tree run, is you sit next to the patch and you just keep planting. Once again, plus minus with Production Master. You get a ton more herbs than you would usually get. So that kind of means that herblore is already kind of solved. And production master gives you way more resources. So you can process your herbs a lot faster, but you might get like way too many potions. On the other hand, if you really hate making potions, you could combine the two to actually be done really quick with all your overloads. For fun, extreme XP rates, it's going to be absolutely mental how fast you can go. And you'll be blasting through your seeds. You can just sit at the patch and just go ham. There we go, we got the scores. I rate Golden Footed slightly higher. And that is because thieving is already like an extremely AFK and chill skill. And there's not too much to get out of it. Agility is a little bit more annoying. But both of these like only solve one skill. And farming is already like farming plus herblore. So that is, in my opinion, way stronger. Then we go to the teleport relics, Fairy's Flight. You can do really efficient farm runs. It has a wide teleport coverage, like the teleport locations of Fairy Flight are nearly across the entire map. They might not always be the closest teleport, but like the coverage is really big. On the other hand, like there's so many teleport options and infinite run energy, movement abilities. Teleports are not really necessary in RS3, but I guess it's still nice. In the early game, once again, the farm runs are really efficient and you get wide coverage. Negative synergies with Clue Connoisseur. You would mainly want a wide teleport coverage to do clue scrolls, because that's where you really need to travel across the map, because for bossing, you can just use the bossing portals. And Clue Connoisseur just teleports you to the clue, so it doesn't even work with that. And Farming Frenzy, it's like, why would you want an efficient farming teleport if you can just sit at a patch and never move? So that's a big negative for that one. And the fun part, it condenses a lot of teleports. Usually if you go farming, you have like an inventory full of teleports. Just to get to each patch, you now only have to bring one. And this also makes the farm runs really smooth. If you don't have the farming frenzy, that is. Assassin's Insight. It is very efficient Slayer. Same as that farming can send you to patch by patch. And here you can quickly hop between Slayer Master and Slayer Monster. It also has a wide teleport coverage. Less than the Fairy's Flight, but it also gets to some really annoying spots. So you swap a bit of coverage for like obscure locations. Fast Reaper assignments. You want probably multiple EOFs, dependent on the combat style you do, especially with melee and ranged. With magic maybe a little less, and with Necro you might only need one. But you can buy the unlock for Reaper points that you can do more Reaper assignments with Slayer points. So if you can do a lot of Slayer tasks and get a lot of Slayer points, that means you can do a lot of Reaper tasks. Once again, not really necessary in RS3, but still nice. This has the most unique teleports though. So this is technically the least necessary, if that makes sense. Early game, really efficient Slayer. You can really blast through it, and once again, there's wide coverage. Negative synergies with Clue Connoisseur, because once again, why do you need to teleport if you can just go to the clue? And fun, it has very low downtime during Slayer, so you can literally like do your task, teleport to the master you want to go, immediately go back to another monster, and you can just zoom. Last one, Voidwalker. Endgame. Completely irrelevant. This entire item gets replaced. Like, what are we gonna do about it? Early game. This is probably the best variety and the most close by teleports of all the teleport relics. This literally has like coverage across the entire map and spots that the other ones don't even get close. It's really great. And it saves you 50 fortunate components. So you get this relic as tier 3. You probably won't be even close to invention. Like I will have like around level 30 stats, and you already have this teleport relic, so that saves you a lot of stuff. It's negative with Clue Connoisseur for the same reasons that you can just teleport to your spots. And if you got Clue Connoisseur, you probably do a lot of clues. You get a lot of fortunate components, so saving 50 doesn't matter. Also negative with Perfection, because saving 50 fortunate components does nothing if fortunate components are unlimited. For fun, also like negative points, it adds, the item is already in the game, it adds nothing new, it just gives you it really early. So this is just, yeah, it's just no gameplay change at all. And there we go, we got a 6 for endgame power. Assassin's Insight is slightly higher. The Voidwalker is 1, because it gives you nothing extra. They both save you a decent amount of time. Voidwalker saves you a ton of time in the early game. Like, that's going to be way better than the other ones, but it gets surpassed. Synergies are just terrible for Fairy's Flight and the Voidwalker. I should have probably made Fairy's Flight like 2, because farming doesn't completely make it irrelevant. But, oh no, that's why it's 1 actually. Yeah, no, never mind. Because, like, the farming relic is really rough, and Clue Connoisseurs is very negative there. Same for Assassin's Insight, it's slightly higher, because it only has like 1 negative. And fun-altering gameplay, definitely Assassin's Insight and Fairy's Flight. Like, the fact that you can just pop to any farming patch you want is just great. Same with Slayer tasks. Then we get to the juicers. It keeps getting better, I'm just saying. Production Master, for the end game. Some skills are insanely heavily sped up. If you have logs in your bank, boom, instantly completed. You wanna like make some bows, instantly done. Entire inventory cooked. Just go like a maniac. You get a ton of free XP, clues, and rare drop table items from all the spirits that spawn, and you get 20% extra XP across the board from the free urns you get. And most of your resources get a way higher output. You get about 20%, because it depends on the skill you're doing, but you either like save 20% of your resources, or you get 20% more output. So in the end, with most skills, that will end up way over 20%, especially if you make overloads, because you get like 20% on 20% on 20% if you go for Elder Overloads. For the early game, your XP rate is going to be high. You get high stat boosts, so you can do a lot of high XP methods earlier. And you don't actually need that high level to get like big unlocks like overloads. Like you can get an overload level 90 instead of 96. And you have high production output still. Synergies, it's about here and there with all the 3 starter relics, because all those relics like replace basically one of the use of the Production Master, and with stuff like smithing not working, endgame fletching not working, endgame fire making not working, it really loses its use sort of in the endgame, and those synergies hurt it pretty hard there. The fun, your production is really fast, like with everything that works. You can just blast through resources. You get a ton more resources. You can level extra fast, because you can start each method 6 levels earlier. And you just get like spirits galore, right? Like you'll constantly have something to click on and get some rewards out and farm that dopamine. Production Master. I didn't change the title here. What? Rejuvenation. I'm sorry. It's the strongest relic you pick. Problem is, the leak is not really that well balanced. It's the first one, so I don't fault them for that at all. Like, you have sort of a really clear pick in all these starter options, except for like the teleport relic. And then it's also put in a tier with like 2 extremely strong relics. So it's kind of like, yes, am I gonna pick like one of the weak relics that is left, because I didn't pick him yet, in a trade for like a really strong one? I don't see anyone do it. Like, if you want like a really funky build, sure, go ahead. Have fun, like I'm not gonna stop you. But yeah, and fun-wise, it is interesting. Like, in old schools was really cool, because there were some good options, but here, like, the options just aren't great. So I feel like it's just a default skip, and it just becomes like sort of a 2 relic tier. The Clue Connoisseur. For the end game, you'll have incredible clue solving speed. You'll get a ton of loot, like you're really quick with the loot, because you get double the caskets, always max rolls, and you solve them way quicker. You also get double clue getter rate, according to the wiki. I didn't see it anywhere else, but the wiki has it, so I'm gonna assume they had it from like the talking to the developers. So that's really huge. So you actually get like 4 times the rewards on top of the speed. It's like gonna be mental. In the early game, you get a free Globetrotter that saves you so much time farming it, but that also means that you can immediately start with all the outfit clues. You can immediately start teleporting around. You also get the cap removed for free right at the start. For people that don't know, clue scrolls are kept at 25 at the start of the game. And in the clue shop, you can buy an upgrade that it used to increase the cap to 50. But since Group Iron Man released, they removed the cap because it seemed a bit useless. Also, there's a crap load of clue points. So in the early game, you can get so many points that you can just fly through the league. And that's going to be extremely strong in the early game. I was tempted to put it in the end game as well, because I kind of see end game as in getting like best in slot gear and going for the last bit of the dragon trophy. But I decided just to only keep it for the early game. It has negative synergies with all the teleport relics and with perfection, because you get a lot of forts, but perfection gives you infinite forts, so that does nothing. Fun. It's gonna be smooth and fast clues. If you're a really big clue endurer in RS3 in the main game, it might not actually be that fun for you, because you miss the entirety of the clue solving process, and you only get like the opening dopamine, and you get so much dopamine that you might get kind of bored of it, almost. Like maybe the dopamine from the main game is not enough anymore, I don't know. And it's a point battery. There's just tons of points. So your points go up fast, and that's also dopamine. You're just farming dopamine with this relic. And there we go, the endgame power. I gave both of them an 8. Because, yeah, in the end, like, once your points are done, Clue Connoisseur doesn't really do anything anymore. Like, it's just fashion scaping or something. Same with Production Master. It gets, it's really strong, but it sort of gets outclassed. You still get a lot of urns. But a lot of the automatic crafting methods no longer work, really. Early game time saved, a 10 for Clue Connoisseur, because you're going to fly through the league tiers. It's going to be really fast. And the amount of stuff you get from the clue shop is unreal. But same with Production Master. Like, you're going to save so much time making potions, cooking food, that that's definitely worth it. And you get at least 20% extra XP, if not more. Synergies are pretty bad for both, because like they only have negative synergies. The synergies might not be that bad in the grand scheme of things, but they still only have negative synergy, so you're already falling under the 5. And altered gameplay, you're gonna get a lot of spirits, it's gonna be a lot of fun, you get a lot of resource from Production Master. And with clues, as I said, the complete dopamine battery. And then we get to the combat styles. We start with Barbarism. You get about plus 30 tiers of damage on average. I've been told by a lot of videos on YouTube. That's pretty dope. I believe they calculated it in with the RS guy in the stream. It gives you high lifesteal. That's something you don't have in the end game usually. I mean, I guess you get soul split, but like on top of your soul split. And you get an extended range. Like in certain boss fights, you might not be able to hit the boss, but now with the extended range and a halberd weapon, you probably can. It also gives you a little bit more freedom. And then in the early game it basically has all the same things, but also high accuracy. Accuracy in the end game is not really a problem, except for some bosses like Talos, Virago, a Mesket, and a Katra. And you get 100% accuracy with the style. But in the early game it might actually be a toughie. You might like be hanging around like 60% often. And you're just gonna have 100 now, so that's like plus 40% damage on certain monsters. It's insane. Synergies, great with Excavator because of the armor, and it's strong with all the combat relics. Everything works with melee. It's fun because you get a ton of free healing. The progression is really smooth to the combat style, and it's a very unique playstyle compared to the other ones because it's very bursty. You have to get up close and personal, but like the risk is almost completely negated by the healing you get. Crit happens, probably my favorite combat style at the moment, Magic, but it's a bit of a shame. In the end game, you get about 10-15% more damage. That is because you only get 50% more crit damage, which is additive, so it's already like on top of all the crit damage you have from like Smoke Cloud and your base crit damage. And you have the 2 mech and armor, but you're not going to wear 5-piece anyways, but still. It's kind of sad, and you get reduced rune consumption. Early game, high accuracy and low rune consumption. And it's strong with every relic. And the fun part is there's less upkeep. Yay. Next one, Bombardment. You get 3 high damage chins. Chins, I believe, are like level 80 or level 75 usually. Like the mechanized chinchompas, I don't know. Pretty low. And now technically you can have a tier 100 weapon with chins. So that's high damage. You also get low ammo consumption, so you don't spend much time doing that. In the early game you get very high XP an hour, lower ammo consumption, very high accuracy. Synergies with every single combat relic. And the fun is your leveling speed is going to be absolutely mental, and you have less upkeep. Alright, the Soulborn relic. In the endgame, you're gonna have higher uptime on your adrenaline consuming abilities, aka bloat. There's no reason you would not have bloat. You're most likely gonna get basically guaranteed 5 skulls off every rotation, especially if you use adrenaline potions. Your conjures are stronger, so that means if you're not that great of a player, your baseline of damage is higher and you have more healing incoming. Because the ghost heals based on the damage it deals. And also you have less upkeep, just like all the other styles, but this time also ectoplasm, which you use to summon your conjures. In the early game, you skip the talent tree. You most likely already did a bit at the start. You probably want to hold off a bit on necromancy, oddly enough, in the early game until you have tier 5, because every bit of effort you put into the talent tree is semi-wasted since you get the rest for free. Your conjures are going to be stronger. Necromancy is one of the strongest early game styles, if not the strongest. I think melee definitely is a big contender in this league because of all the buffs. But yeah, it's definitely really up there. Once again, less upkeep. And you also have high adrenaline, high accuracy. So same with every other style. The high accuracy is really gonna boost you majorly in the early game. In the end game, necromancy is the highest accuracy stat in the game because it's the only combat style that's allowed to go up to level 120, meaning it already has higher accuracy than all the other styles. For the synergies, Ascension is great. Ascension is another base level damage increase. Also, the Book of Amasket that goes off gives base damage, so that boosts your conjures. And Everlasting Faith also is great. Fun. It has less upkeep, and it has very high early game strength. These are mainly like already necromancy bonuses. This relic basically just boosts the necromancy even further, not necessarily anything unique. So that's reflected here as well. Barbarism is by far the strongest relic. It's an absolute unit. It's strong in the early game. It's strong in the end game. It's an absolute machine. It has a lot of good synergies, basically no bad ones. And the fun is going to be insane, especially if you like melee. It's going to hit a 10. If you are very new to melee and you don't really know how to go around, it might be more like a 7. But it's going to smash you through the entire run. Magic looks a little sad, to be fair. That's based because the endgame power is based on compared to the main game, and it basically gets nothing. The early game, you get higher accuracy, so I didn't want to like nuke it to the bottom, but it basically doesn't get anything. Like, it's the accuracy, a bit of more adrenaline. Synergies, it has less good synergies than the melee one. And yeah, the gameplay isn't really altered, so I wouldn't say it's more fun or altered. It's just magic, but a little more. Ranged endgame, you don't get anything extra. Like, okay, elite dungeons are going to be a little quicker. Our glacier, you don't need to bring chins. It's basically you don't need to bring a chin switch, and that's kind of all. Most things that you would chin die really quick anyways. The early game, however, is going to be really fast. Like, you can chin a lot of things. If you take, for example, the spec relic, you can literally, like, dark bow all your slayer tasks really quickly. It's kind of insane. The synergies are still, like, they're not great, but it's fine. And I think, overall, it's going to be a fun style, just because the early game is going to be so fun. And still, like, hitting, like, the 30Ks with, like, the effective chins might be pretty dope. Soulborn is currently the weakest style in the game. With the buffs, it's not going to be the biggest anywhere near, but it does get a decent bit stronger. Early game is very strong. It buffs all the strengths of Necromancy, and it's already strong early. It has less synergies because it loses one of the combat relics, because there is no special attacks really that it functions well with. And the gameplay doesn't change much, except you can skip the soul farming. Then the Banker's Note, the biggest noob trap in the entire league. Endgame things, it's going to give you the highest rune crafting XP an hour if you bring a lot of rune essence and you just go through the abyss on an altar and you just spam it. Big problem with that is that on Iron Man, the main bottleneck is farming rune essence. So in the end, it's not going to save you that much, but like the XP rates are going to be really high. You have 20% faster summoning training. In the Teverly summoning shop, you can sell your items to the shop and then buy them back. And that is really fast summoning training. This is, however, not able to be done in the Amlot summoning shop, which has basically a 25% chance to get the buff. If it's Amelot Hour and Priv Dennis, and then you get a 20% summoning training XP bonus. So Banker's Note would allow you to bring noted summoning items and then just do the shop method, but then there. Slightly faster banking. Banks are pretty close, especially if the Wars of 3 teleport or the Max Guild. But you don't have to do the tally, I guess, so it's slightly faster. And you can bring more supplies in boss fights if you were to need them. In the early game, it's the same thing. It doesn't really change. Synergies, it has a negative synergy with the gathering tier, like tier 1, because that automatically banks stuff, so noting it doesn't matter. A negative with 5-finger discount, because that notes stuff for you, so having a relic that notes doesn't really change anything. And it's negative with Everlasting Faith, because if you play your cards kind of well with that relic, it's gonna make you immortal. And the extra food is then absolutely wasted, plus you don't need prayer anymore, so even less supplies that you bring. Fun, it slightly alters how you play rune crafting, but in the current game it's often unnecessary. Like, this is an insane relic in old school, and even in old school you would probably debate between picking this one and its counterpart. But yeah, here I might be a bit biased, but let's just let's just go for the winner of the tier. Perfection. In the end game, it's gonna be an insane money generator. I don't know how many times you'll be able to disassemble an item, because if you disassemble elk something, there's a 66% chance to not consume, and then that item also is a 66%. So it's gonna be nuts. I believe, like, if it's 50%, you double it or something. I don't know. It's fine. It's gonna be kind of nuts. So it's a lot of money. Do you need money in endgame? Not necessarily, but it's still like a thing, right? You get free invention items. Everything in the shop that only requires invention items, you can just spam infinitely. This also means that your XP in the early game is going to be insane, because you can literally just make the most expensive item for XP and just blast through it. There is no upkeep, you don't need energies, and your invention machines are faster, so you can like rapidly make planks, unfinished potions, you don't have to bother with hides if you want them tanned. It's a machine. Early game insane XP rates, already talked about that. You practically have instant perking. This is like, it's level based, so if you have extreme invention potions, you can literally just make the highest XP things until you're 120 invention, because that's the highest it goes up to, and then you can just instantly just keep re-rolling your perks until you literally have best in slot. No need to farm anything, just sit there at the bench and just go ham. You get fortunate invention items. Fortunate components usually require like 50 clue items from clues, but you have infinite components, so you can make every single fort item. It's usually like a big bottleneck, but you can just skip everything. In the early game, of course, the money making is still great. At level 20, a lot of perks get a 10% trigger chance. This, however, with this perk you get it permanently, so like the moment you have a perk it instantly activates, so that's great in the early game. Tech tree auto unlocks, that unlocks a lot of stuff like the cannons, patch bombs if you don't have the farming relic, stuff like that. This is really great. There is no upkeep, and your invention machines are faster, so like you can just get all your stuff really quick. For the synergies, it's negative with Divine Woodcutter, because that gives you a lot of energies, and this makes it so that you don't need energies. Golden Fooded, because it's a moneymaker, same with 5-finger discount. Fairy's Flight, because you can make items called the Portable Fairy Ring and the Spirit Tree Rerouter. And those are both effects that the Fairy's Flight mushroom has. So that's already getting outclassed by this. Voidwalker is completely irrelevant, because you can make the Passage of the Abyss with your infinite components and just fill it up. And the Clue Connoisseur, because the Clue Connoisseur will generate you a lot of fortunate components, and you have infinite here, so that doesn't matter. Fun, it skips basically 90% of the mid-game. You don't have to farm for perks. You don't have to farm for fortunate components. You can literally just sit there. The moment you unlock this relic, get 120 invention, get everything perked. You probably want to get ancient invention, so you would have to have done archaeology before that. So you need like level 95, I think. It's able to access that point. But on that, you go like a maniac. There is no upkeep anymore. You don't have to farm for charges at all. And it's an insane power jump once you unlock it. That's also reflected here. I think Banker's Note is not bad. I'm gonna give it like a passing grade for both endgame and early game. The synergies are terrible because there's so much that just does what Banker's Note does, and then like if you add on top that it doesn't save you that much time on the rest. Fun and altered gameplay. I think it's a really cool concept, but I think it just has no place in the game. So I didn't want to give it a 1. I think it's really, really alright. And if you want to go for it, like, don't feel bad, honestly. Because perfection in the end doesn't give you extra power, it just saves you a lot of time. But yeah, in the end game power perfection, I'm gonna give it a 7. Because in the limited time of the league, you might not get all the best in slot perks and you're still gonna have them here. You're gonna get a lot of money out of it. You can make all the EOS you want. So it doesn't necessarily give you like too much at the high end, but it's still gonna like juice you into the high end. The early game time saved is unbeatable. Like the amount of time you save is ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. Its synergies are, however, are terrible. There's a lot of relics that kinda fight with this one. But I still think that doesn't detract enough from it to not pick it. And that's why I gave fun and the alternate gameplay a 10. Because, as I said before, you can literally craft items to gain invention XP. Whereas usually you would train it by like leveling up your items and then siphoning XP out of that. And here you just skipped it. You just blast through. And then we get to the juicer tier. Ascension. What is the bonus in the endgame? Your baseline damage is insane and your base stats. So you get all the free levels, you get all the free flat damage boosts that just blast. You get a lot of boosted damage from the effects. Where you can play into like the jazz book that procs and you want to do a lot of damage. Whenever full is up, you want to do a lot of damage. It's just kind of crazy. Early game, it's gonna save you a lot of time because you don't have to farm books and you don't have to farm pages for the books to charge them. Every page gives you 40 minutes and you get 3 hours for free once you get the book drop. It also lowers the need for overloads. You still want overloads because the Stone of Jazz buff is not permanent. But you have it up so often that the moment you don't have like boosted stats aren't that impactful, I think. Especially in the early game. Basically when you unlock this, you sort of have like juiced overloads half of the time. So I think that's really good. And then once again, the same endgame points still count in the early game, because it's a very simple book in the end. Just plus 12% crit and a ton of the things that just go off. Synergies, it's great with all the combat styles, because it's just baseline damage. It's really nice. Maybe nicer with, for example, magic, because you can really early get your crit buff up. And it's like, it gets 50% crit damage, but you don't have that many crit buffs, and this book would just give it 12% crit chance. So that's really nice. Maybe with Soulborn as well, because you get some base damage, and it really likes that. For the fun, it is high damage. It's damage you don't have to do anything for. It just goes off, it just blasts stuff. There's 2 bosses that I can think of. 3 actually. Rexor can reflect damage and Virago. So if the book goes off, then it will kill you. And Yakamaru reflects damage if you stun him. And the Zamorak book can go off and it stuns. So those are the downsides, but other than that, it's just free damage that you can always have on, and you can just blast. Other fun part, you have a private fireworks show every 5 seconds. You're gonna have multiple particle effects probably going off. It's gonna be absolutely nuts, especially if like multiple people in the same instance run it. It's gonna be absolute madness. And you skip the book grind. A lot of people hate the book grind, but there's gonna be a lot of points behind bosses, so I don't see it as too much of a bad thing. It saves you that grind. Then we go to the specialist, the melee relic. I mean, what? You get a free special attack every 15 seconds. That is kind of nuts. That is a lot of free damage, free utility. Like a Dragon Battle Axe spec is really strong, but costs 100% adrenaline. You can just pop it for free. It's really nice. All your specs go to plus 50% damage. Just plows through things. It's kind of crazy. For the early game, you start with an EOF. A really high base stat amulet. If you get it before you already unlocked it, just for your stats. It gives you early access to every special attack in the game. For example, I'm more of a mage guy, so I'll talk in mage terms. FSOA, the Fractured Staff of Armadyl, is probably going to be one of the last things you'll go for. Because it's just the hardest to grind. Maybe the 2 mech and armor, but before that. And you can now just do all your grinds with the FSOA spec up. It's just that good. Other thing that it does is you can, for example, decide not to go for the Wild Gothic Sleep quest if you're meleeing. For Dragon Claws, you can just use this one. So that saves you a big quest line as well. For the synergies, it's great with Barbarism. Mainly Barbarism. Melee has a lot of great specs that work with this. It's gonna be good with Crit Happens, mainly in the early game, to save you a lot of time. Because Ivan's Blast is probably gonna max the Armadyl Battlestaff specs, probably not that great. It might work with Fractured Staff of Armadyl spec, but I'm pretty sure that counts as base damage, and not like sort of a flat damage that the staff itself does. So I don't think it actually gets boosted, but maybe. It's also great with Bombardment, stuff like the Dark Bow is going to be insane. Saren Gold Bow, you can get free Eldritch Crossbow specs, it's great. Negative with the Clue Connoisseur, because you get a free OF, so you don't need to get the Fortunate components. Same for Perfection, once again with the Fortunate components. And it's bad with Soulborn. Soulborn doesn't really have, like Necromancy doesn't really have specs that work well. You have like 3 specs. One of them already caps in general use. So yeah, it's like you're gonna save 25% adrenaline, like kinda who cares. The fun parts, massive hits, you're gonna hit level 30ks. You can skip or ease grinds, as I said. Dragon Claws, you can just fully skip. An FSO or something you could get grab earlier. You can probably, maybe you probably have a Dark Bow before that, but still. And it's just a melee range powerhouse. Like, these 2 styles are gonna absolutely cook with this. And we get Everlasting Faith. It gives you permanent devotion and soul split. For people that don't know, devotion is an ability that basically turns your prayers into old school prayers. You go from 50% to 100% blocking. And if that wasn't enough, you get soul split on top of that. Soul split heals you for the damage you deal. And it's active when you use protection prayers. So if a boss can only attack you with 1 style, you are now immortal. Good luck. There's a lot of insta-kills in the game though, so you have to look out for those. But I think people oversell that part. The fact that you can block so much damage is ridiculous. Like the fact that you only have to look out for the insta-kills. I mean, what are you complaining about, right? You're so strong. So this is going to be really strong for new players, or it's going to be alright for mages. Since mages lose a lot of benefits from the other ones. It removes the downside of the prayer book. The big downside of the prayer book is that you don't have soul split. There is a prayer that replaces it called the Eclipse Moon. And the Eclipse Moon gives you 4% more crit chance, which is insane. And it heals you a percentage of your max health every time you crit. But usually you can't use that really, unless you're really like going for speed kills. Because you just don't get enough healing uptime and you just die. But here's the thing, like you use Eclipse Moon. And when you start getting low, you either let yourself get revived, because you get a free revive every 5 minutes. Or you just start doing a protection prayer. And if you combine that also with the time saved for the AOD grind, the next Angel of Death is a hard group boss. You can probably easily solo it in the league. If you somewhat know what you're doing. But now you can swap it for grinding the Sanctum and the Gate. For the prayer scrolls, and you can do Sanctum in normal mode. So you basically replace like an endgame group boss for like 2 really easy bosses, one being a skilling boss. That's great. You also no longer have prayer upkeep. Early game is basically the same thing, but the AOD grind skip that I just talked about. Synergies is just great with all the combat relics, because it's super tanky, you get some extra crit. And even on the normal spellbook, you can now use Split Soul with Necromancy and range, so that is nice. Magic really needs a lot of crit, and you get basically 4% free crit from this. So that is really strong. So I'm going for the Immortal Mage, but we'll talk about that in a bit. It has negative effects with Farming and Production Master, just simply because you don't use Prayer. They give you a lot of potions, so you can't use it to make Prayer potions, and that just knocks down a use. It's not a big nerf. Fun. You become an absolute tank. You can just get hit by crazy stuff. Calfight King. Technically, it's called an insta-kill, but technically it's 32,000 melee damage. You just ignore it. You know, who cares how much damage he does. There's almost no downside to using the Eclipse Moon. And it's great for magic with its crit attacks. So if we go to the overview, we can see that Ascension and Specialist both, I gave them a power level of 9, because they're not great with everything. Ascension is alright with everything, I feel, but it is baseline damage and you cannot really hit the heights that Specialist can hit. But Specialist is not great with, well, it's bad with Necromancy, and with magic, like, you don't really have good specs to make use of it. So that's why I left them both at 9. Specialist is gonna let you skip a lot of grinds. So that's why I gave that a 9. But Ascension's baseline power is just like, whenever you get it, it's on, right? So that's still really high. Ascension, no bad matchups. Is great with everything, so I give it a 10. Literally no downsides. Specialist, unusable basically with one style. And the other one is not great. So it loses some points on there. And all of them get like a 9 for altered playstyle, because it makes you completely play the game differently. The focus is going to be super hard on like your Dragon Claws, for example, with Specialist. With Ascension, you're going to skip grinds and you're just going to blast through a lot of the early game. Everlasting Fate, you're going to be immortal. It's just awesome. And now we're going to... I thought I'd throw them in like a quick tier list, and based on the points I've given them. Keep in mind... it might be a bit of arbitrary points, and it's more about the explanation I've gave. Because as you can see here, melee would be the strongest one. Although I would probably like give one of them the benefit, and Divine Woodcutter should probably be the weakest one. So maybe my my points weren't the best spread, but take this with a grain of salt. And then I want to finish off with my build. I'm going for Excavator. It's just the highest value, like pound for pound. If you would combine Animal Wrangler and Divine Woodcutter, they're still not as strong as the Excavator. It's just absolutely nuts. Farming Frenzy, I think the same thing, honestly. If you put Golden Footed and Five Finger Discount together, they're getting close to farming, then it would probably be like sort of a decision to make. But I'm picking Farming Frenzy. I'm gonna pick Assassin's Insight, because Voidwalker is a big jump, but I'm gonna go really hard on the league. So I'll probably surpass it sooner rather than later. Especially if I hit Perfection, it's gonna be useless. So yeah. I don't pick Fairy's Flight, because I have Farming Frenzy. So I already have Farming solved, so I don't need fast farming teleports. And then I rather have Slayer teleports, because I am not taking the spec relic. So I want to do a lot of Slayer tasks quickly to get a lot of EOFs. So Assassin's Insight is going to be better for me there. I'm picking Clue Connoisseur. I did think about Production Master, but the fact that I already kind of have Herblore solved with farming makes it less viable. Or valuable, sorry. And Clue Connoisseur is just going to boost my points so much. It's going to be crazy. I do pick Magic. I know, I just knocked it down so hard. Probably pick... I recommend you to play Melee or Necromancy. Necromancy if you're a new player. Melee if you want to go to the end game and absolutely be yoked. Necromancy is going to be close, but Melee is going to be by far the strongest. But I'm picking Magic because my girlfriend wants to learn Magic. And I'm already like a bit of a Magic aficionado. So we're going to go through it together. So that's a personal choice, that's why. I'm going to pick Perfection. I think Banker's Note's a noob trap. If you really are passionate about it, you've picked it always in the old school league, you want to go ham, like go ahead. But the time saved on Perfection, just like what I said in my video, if there's nothing that like gives me more power than Perfection, I'm definitely picking that, because the time save is nuts. And in the last tier, I'm picking Everlasting Faith. This might not be the highest DPS, but I feel like niceness-wise, it's gonna synergize the best with the magic skill. Simply because specialist, like the only great spec is the Iban's Blast, and you're just gonna max. You often already hit a 30k in the base game. You're just gonna hit 30ks here guaranteed. You get a lot of damage on your Sanctum weapons, the Roar of Awakening, but like you are forced to like get lucky with resets. Just a bit rough. Ascension, although cool, I don't like visual clutter, which this is most likely gonna give. And I like my gameplay to sort of be unique and changed. And although it kinda does with Ascension, to a certain extent you just turn the book on and particle effects start flying and the boss dies, right? So for me personally, like that I don't consider that fun myself, but I definitely see how other people can really love that. And then we get to the end of my TED Talk. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Monday, I'm gonna start streaming probably half an hour before the leaks start, so definitely stop by on the channel. This link in the description down below. Expect probably the first progress video before the weekend. I'm gonna aim a little earlier. I can probably do some editing Wednesday morning or Wednesday night. So maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. Like, depends how quick I can go through VODs. But we'll see. At the latest Saturday. So 1 week wait till my next video. But unless I find like a cool topic to talk about. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And see you later.